Welcome to Beside the Burn for Wednesday, the 29th of March. We are on day 31 of Lent, only 9 more days to go. And we're asking the question yet again, what did Jesus say? And we're reading today from the end of John chapter 16. Jesus is once again preparing his disciples for his death and for the fact that he's going to be leaving them. And today he gives us a great insight into our current position as we live in this world, and yet we try to be disciples of Jesus Christ. And he tells us today how it is possible for us to live in two places at once. We all know that we can only be in one place at one time, but Jesus here is helping us to understand this phenomenon of being a citizen of heaven and also living here in the world. And what happens is, as Christians, as followers of Jesus Christ, we are physically here in this world, but spiritually we are in the world to come. And there's always that conflict between these two places because we have to live each day our lives here on earth, but at the same time, we need to be able to live obeying the rules of the kingdom and following the king of the kingdom. So the verse that we're going to be looking at today is right at the end of the passage that we'll read. It's verse 33 of John chapter 16. And Jesus is talking to the disciples. He's explaining to them once again about leaving them. And he says to them, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. So Jesus is warning us that we live on this earth for as long as he allows us to live on this earth. One day he will call us home, and whenever he calls us home, we will dwell with him in heaven until he returns and then recreates the new heaven and the new earth. But he warns us here that our life here on earth will be full of trouble. And in this world you will have trouble. And that word trouble literally means pressure. So there will be pressures on us here as we try to live for Jesus. And we can see that increasingly in the world as the world turns against God, as more and more people turn their backs on the church. We feel the pressure as followers of Jesus Christ because we're being asked to do things that we're not comfortable with. We're being asked to accept things that we don't want to accept and that we know grieve the Lord. But at the same time, as we live in this troubled and pressured time, Jesus has explained this to us so that we might be in him. Remember how we were told to abide in Christ, to remain in Christ, so that in him we may have peace. And how many times have you experienced this? And how many times have you seen it in the life of someone else as well? Where they have faced tremendous upset and tremendous hardship. They have gone through significant trouble, and yet they have felt the peace of God, that peace that passes all understanding. And how many times have we seen it in our own lives? Where if we stop to think about it, we just wonder, well, how can we cope with this? How could we possibly carry on? And yet Christ has given us this tremendous peace in our lives. And it's this idea of living in the two places at once, physically here on this earth, but spiritually with Christ. And the number of times that I have been speaking to people who, I suppose most often it comes up whenever somebody has been given a diagnosis of something that they weren't expecting, or maybe they're going for an operation and they're a little bit apprehensive about it. And then they're able to say, you know, whenever I was being wheeled for that operation, or whenever the doctor spoke to me, there was just this real sense of peace that descended upon me. And where I expected to be frightened, I knew God's peace. And that's what Jesus is saying to us here. Take heart. I have overcome the world. We are trusting in the world, in the one who has overcome the world. We are trusting in the one who has the victory. We're trusting in the one who can be trusted because he's gone before us, he's prepared the way, and we can trust in him. We're encouraged in the book today to pray Psalm 27, verses 1 to 6. So I simply want to read them here as a prayer, and then we're going to read from chapter 16. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war arise against me, yet I will be confident. One thing have I asked of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For he will hide me in his shelter. In the day of trouble he will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will lift me high upon a rock. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me, and I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord. Amen. And now we read John chapter 16, verse 25 to the end. Though I have been speaking figuratively, a time is coming when I will no longer use this kind of language, but will tell you plainly about my Father. In that day you will ask in my name. I'm not saying that I will ask the Father on your behalf. No, the Father himself loves you because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God. I came from the Father and entered the world. Now I am leaving the world and going back to the Father. Then Jesus' disciples said, Now you are speaking clearly and without figures of speech. Now we can see that you know all things and that you do not even need to have anyone ask you questions. This makes us believe that you came from God. Do you now believe? Jesus replied. A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone, yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world.